Gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some first impressions. Today, as the announcer voice so kindly told us, we're doing Mighty No.9. Now, Mighty No.9 has been a game that's embattled with controversy, and let me say this, I'm doing everything I can to bring you something that doesn't take that into account. Essentially, we want to let the game itself do the talking, not what's surrounding the game. I've been able to play all of the primary levels, and I have a pretty good idea as to whether it's worth it or not. So let's get this out of the way. Mighty No.9 is $20. It is not a full-price AAA game, and I'm gonna go ahead and be honest, that is something that really helps this game out. I feel like a very large amount of the game can be summed up specifically by the first line and its execution.
It is the present year.
Are you catching what I'm throwing with this? It's 2016, and it's pretty clear that they wanted to update the formula just a little bit, not too much, in order to make sure that it wasn't just playing a new Mega Man game. But at the same time, it tried as hard as it can be to be just a new Mega Man game. And I feel like it never went too far enough in either direction. Like, I'll go ahead and be honest, if you want to talk about innovating, the innovations in this game are cool, but the difference between Mega Man and Mega Man X, other than the graphics, which might I add are sometimes great, sometimes not so much, I would say that Mega Man X represents maybe what they were trying to do here much better than this game does. That's not to say this game doesn't have its moments. There are parts of this game that are frustratingly good. And what I mean by that is basically they represent the potential that this game had. This really could have been the game that actually replaced Mega Man for the new generation, or even reinvigorated the shooter platformer subgenre, which, let's be honest, despite a few really good releases in the last decade, has been pretty barren. But barren is not a word I would use to describe Mighty No.9. It actually was crafted with a lot of love, and you can tell. It's very dense with art, and I know some people probably don't like the fact that it does look a little bit like the Dreamcast era of graphics, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a major plus for me. I love that style of graphics, the somewhat low poly, but not super low poly, with a lot of color. It's really a nice looking game, and by all accounts it handles pretty well, I would say. The dash mechanic that's used to absorb the cells of your enemies is something that kind of confused me at first because I was sort of expecting Mega Man, and I didn't go into this thinking they would do something that would sort of change the fundamental way that you defeat an enemy, but it does, and it's not actually a bad thing. Once you're used to it, it's actually a lot of fun, and it does sort of give you a new way to establish combos which are scored. There's a leaderboard for scores, and it actually does have a lot of pretty cool arcade elements that I have to say I appreciate the inclusion of. In fact, by the time I'd gotten through the intro stage, I was kind of going, you know, this could actually be great. I'd received just enough explanation to know what the hell was going on. I'd played a level that I thought was pretty fun, and this round digger boss I thought was a great introductory boss. I'm gonna be honest, this thing screwed me up a few times before I figured out what the heck to do to him, but I eventually did. Basically, the first section of the game, excluding that message from the president of Cherrydyne, was pretty much perfect. It's everything I could have expected from it. However, the game just doesn't hold up after that. For one, you'll probably notice that my quote-unquote Mega Man instincts just never left. I would kill an enemy and my brain would say, they're supposed to be dead by now, just keep running to the right. Now, I realize that that's on me and I should probably update my expectations and reflexes to a new game because this is not Mega Man, but at the same time, it's done a lot in purporting to be kind of the replacement to Mega Man because Capcom won't make one. And in that respect, there's a crap ton of Mega Man games that I've played almost all of, and every single one of them handles itself in that manner. You kill an enemy, and you don't have to do anything else. And I definitely appreciate the want to include a combo system. I love arcade elements to games, and I especially like that they wanted to include some arcade elements. We've talked about that I enjoy arcade stuff quite a bit, both in videos and on Twitter, which you can follow me at Falcon the Hero. I can't help but think that they could have implemented a combo system that didn't change up one of the core expectations I have about the game. That being said, I probably could have looked past this if the levels were inspired and also, well, ran completely correctly. This is Unreal Engine, and I can't believe it's Unreal Engine with the amount of slowdown that happens in this game. Do these graphics look particularly complex to you? No, they're fairly low poly models with backgrounds that are also also fairly low poly. The amount of geometry on screen is pretty astoundingly low for a modern game, and still I had tons of frame rate dips. For a game that took this long to make, there should have been something done about this. And let me be clear, my copy is on the PlayStation 4, but frankly the scale of this game necessitates a PlayStation 3 and probably nothing more. But let's get back to the level design just a little bit. For somebody who has been involved in so many Mega Man games over the years, you would think that the level design would be a little bit more evolved than this. Frankly, I think the level design in Mega Man 3, which Keiji Inafune has indicated is probably his least favorite Mega Man game, to be better than the level design in this game. It's just a lot of stuff that you feel like you've seen before, and when you saw it before, it was better. Now that's not to say there aren't levels that aren't great, like the Capitol building level for instance. It does something that I don't really remember being in a Mega Man game, and that gives you kind of a chase element, but not like a timed run to the right. You have to follow around a sniper and continually find them. It's actually a really enjoyable level, but pretty much the rest of the game is just typical Mega Man levels. At this point it feels like it should have something more, but it doesn't. All in all, the game seems to never try hard enough at all of the things that it attempts. Sometimes it's really hard, sometimes it's really inspired, sometimes the bosses are great, but it's always sometimes. It never is 100% of the time. The new gameplay elements are cool, but the game feels too much like the old games, and they sometimes get in the way. Your instincts are still wanting you to play a Mega Man game, and this is kind of not a Mega Man game. But it kind of is, and that's kind of the problem. Now, if you've never played a Mega Man game before, this is probably going to be a little bit better for you, but at the same time, I feel like it's not the best example of this style game either. And really, all in all, whether you've played Mega Man or whether you haven't, that's kind of the problem. This game was in development for an obscene amount of time, especially for a 2D side-scrolling shooter platformer genre game made by the guy who made Mega Man, with the expectation that it's going to make up for the drought of Mega Man games that Capcom has given us. And I feel like rather than working out a big new combo system, they could have just spent the time on better level design and given us more traditional gameplay. Or if they wanted to change up the gameplay the way they did, they could have worked on making the level design take advantage of it more. I don't know, it just feels like it never goes far enough in either direction. Sometimes it's trying to be Mega Man, and sometimes it's trying to build on Mega Man, but all of the time it never really tries too hard. And that's kind of the major problem with the whole game. Is it really worth even a $20 price tag? Not so much. What do you think? Are you gonna pick up Mighty No.9? Have you already? Does your opinion line up with the video? Do you disagree? Let's have a discussion about that in the comments. And I've seen some of the Mighty No.9 discussions around the internet, so let's try to keep it civil at least. But if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconAHero, and we will see you next time right here on gameranx.